Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. I hope and I pray this is third time lucky today. We are back. We had a failed stream on Monday, a failed stream on Tuesday. Today we're going to go for it. We're going to hopefully stay live for the duration of the show. We've missed pretty much nothing. I mean, Bitcoin's only at $44,000. The market's only pumped another 10%. I mean, what's 10% between friends? So on today's show, I have scrapped doing what I was going to do on Monday and Tuesday, and we're going to go with a fresh batch of news. We're going to have a look at Bitcoin, as you would expect. We're going to take a look at the delay to the Grayscale Trust application that's been pushed back. We're going to take a look at Doge. Why has Doge been pumping? I'm going to tell you the reason. We're going to take a look at Marathon, IBM, and ordinal NFTs. So all of that is to come up. And then at the very end of the show, we will attempt to stay live long enough to have a quiz. It might not work. It might work. Who knows? So that's what we have to do today. As I said, we've had problems for the last 2 days. We've been making videos. We've made a video this week about a new coin that we're going to be doing a giveaway on. I'm not going to mention any names on here, but we're going to do a giveaway next Tuesday night on the live stream. So look out for information about that. It is going to be a 4-figure giveaway. Our biggest ever giveaway on the stream will be next Tuesday night. So make sure you stay in tune with Crypto Warehouse for that. Now, before we get into the markets, a big thank you to all of our regulars that stick with us through thick and thin. You all know who you are. I will be dropping boxes. It's probably going to be about 20 past 11. We will be dropping boxes, or red envelope, should I say. So make sure to, keep your eye out for them and claim them because it's free crypto. What else would we do? So let's get on. Good morning to you. Good morning, Lidong. Thank you for joining the stream. I hope we stay up long enough for you to enjoy the stream. I think at first I thought it was our software. Then I thought it was our internet connection. Now I think it's the software. So we've reinstalled everything and hopefully everything is now going to stay consistent enough for us to get through the stream. But before we go into any of the news, let's have a quick look at the markets. As we can see, Bitcoin is just under $44,000. I have a chart with 2 price targets for Bitcoin for me that are going to happen one way or the other. They're probably both going to happen at some point, but I'm kind of hedging towards one over the other. So we're going to go through that in a minute. The total market cap, if I make that a little bit bigger for you to see, is up to $1.6 trillion. We are up massively. The volume is still fairly large. We don't need to worry about the volume. We know the price of Bitcoin. We know the price of Ethereum. 24-hour gainers. I mean, some of these gains in the last 24 hours are pretty intense. Helium is up massively. Beam, Celestia, Casper, Avalanche. Remember, when it comes to Celestia, I know it keeps pumping, but at some point you should start to look to take profits. It's already starting to feel overbought. Look at the gains it's had in the last 30 days. So just keep that in mind. AVAX is up, Doge is up. We're going to go through that. Pepe, Shiba Inu is up. Lots of gains today. And if we go to the 24-hour losers, Terra Classic, Terra Luna is down a touch. Conflux, IOTA, Stacks, these are down fractions. If you look at the 30-day gains, these are only probably profit taking. Audi is down. Audi's been on a bit of a run. Audi's now starting to come down again, DYDX. So the markets are starting to look healthy. And I have a few questions about where we're going with Bitcoin and where we're going to go. Remember, this is the first week of December. The first week of December. The halving doesn't happen until April or May next year. It's 5 months away. So what's going to happen in the next 5 months? Because it's as if we've gone too soon. It's as if we have started to preempt the halving. We're starting to preempt the ETFs. And by we, I don't mean you and I mean the big boys. I mean the Vanguards. I mean the BlackRocks. So I was trying to find an article that fits into where I think we could go by the end of the year. Now, had I said this 2 months ago, you probably would have laughed me off the stream, and quite rightly, because 2 months ago, you're going back to the start of October, we're at 23,000, something like that. So we've almost doubled in 2 months. And this is where I think we're going to go. I think we might not get to precisely 50,000 because that is a huge, huge level of resistance, in my opinion, psychologically. But we're going to bring up the charts. I'm going to show you. We're going to get close to it, I think. But I don't think we're going to break it. But there is a golden cross. And what we know about golden crosses is they are the harbingers of success, pumps, God candles, and a big move up for crypto. So we'll get through this and then we will go and have a little look at the charts. Excuse me. It's getting to that season again where I'm going to start coughing. I was coughing on Saturday on the stream. It sounded like an earthquake. We know about this. So there is a potential new golden cross. Amidst the excitement in the crypto market, Bitcoin's impressive 7 weeks of gains since early February. What, talking about early February? According to TradingView data, Bitcoin appears on the verge of a new golden cross. What? Here we go. The 50-day simple moving average is at $28,000 and steadily climbing. Then we have the next one at 29,300. This convergence suggests a robust bullish momentum, which of course we have been looking at. I've also been looking at other channels that we're in. We're going to go through them as well. So Bitcoin has been on an incredible winning streak, rising for 7 consecutive weeks since mid-October, breaking 42,000 and reaching highs of 44,300. You know the markets are green when we are heading towards these figures so soon after being down here at the start of the year. What drives this surge? Behind Bitcoin's surge lies a mixture of factors, with institutional investments, pre-Bitcoin halving. We of course have the ETFs, and we have the potential for rate cuts. It's probably starting next year, and rate cuts means more money flowing into the economy, and the more money that's in the economy, the more money can flow into Bitcoin. Looking back, Bitcoin's previous golden cross in September 2021 led to a subsequent high of 69,000. With excitement building, industry experts draw parallels between past success and present optimism, fueled in part by the impending launch of the US-based spot ETF. Now, we're not going to go into too much of this, but let's just focus on this mark here. If the RSI hovers around 65, there's speculation that Bitcoin might accelerate towards $50,000. Adding to the conversation, crypto expert AI cautions that reaching 47,360 could pose a challenge for Bitcoin. So we've read enough now. The golden cross, on the whole, is a good indicator of things to come, and that's what we want. We don't want all this negativity that we have had for the last 18 months. So I'm going to show you some figures. We're already back at 44,000. We've gone up a couple of probably about $200 since we started. So I have found yet another channel that we appear to be in, which takes us to the target that I have on the chart here. Excuse me, I'll draw this back up now. And I forgot to say good morning to Kishan. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Hidden Agendas, for joining us today. I hope you're all doing very well. Let me have a little look. So, where do I think we're going to go? Well, I have two price targets for Bitcoin in the next, I want to say in the next few weeks, but we could be talking days. Now, what we've done is we've come up to this fib level and we've touched this fib level. We're also in this channel, which has held out. So I think our next target for Bitcoin is this level here, which I don't know if you can see on the screen, but it's about 48,300, which is where the previous article was talking about. Now, I think we're going to get somewhere in that region, and if we break it and we spike up, then we're going to hit $50,000. Based on current trajectory, that could be towards probably the Christmas week, December the 19th, December the 20th, December the 21st. However, given this run that Bitcoin is on, I'm not sure if we're going to see this kind of move, which potentially would take us back to the level I'm talking about, which is 41.8 maybe, and then push back up to 48. Now, if we start to see a small pullback, remember it's a small pullback. We're at big prices now, $44,000. If I said we're going to have a 5% pullback, that's going to take us down $2,000. That sounds an awful lot when you're talking about an asset worth $15,000. It's not so much when you're talking about an asset that's worth $44,000. So I do expect some kind of pullback. We can't keep having 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 consecutive green weeks. That doesn't happen. We're starting to pull away from the bull market support band. And when you start to pull away from the bull market support band, you end up, if we go back up here, why? There we go. So look what happened back here. Now, I think potentially we are somewhere in the region of this right now. And I think we are starting to push up a little bit too quickly. Now, that might sound a little bit pessimistic, but I was talking about trying to get towards 36, 38,000. Then we were talking about 40,000. Then we were talking about 42,000. If you go back over the streams that we've had over the last few weeks and look at the price targets I've put in there, I made a thumbnail only, I don't even know how long ago it was, a month ago, which said 32,000 incoming. We're at 44,000. We've gone up 33%. What I don't want to do is, what happens if we do this before the halving? What happens if we take out the previous all-time highs before the halving? That puts us at $66,000, $69,000. Where do we go from there? Because the halving is 2 years away. Sorry, not the halving. The all-time high is 2 years away. The halving is 6 months away, 5 months away, 6 months away, whatever it is. We're still 2 years away from the all-time high, and we're at $44,000. So where on earth is Bitcoin going to end up? The only thing I can think is we have some kind of correction towards the halving event to kind of pull us down, because we cannot go parabolic in December 2023 when the all-time high is November 2025. We are getting too far ahead of ourselves. Now, what could bring us down are the same things that we've talked about before. We've talked about, is there a way that the SEC can delay the spot Bitcoin ETFs? Is there a way they can delay it, or are they tied to the 10th of January? Because we're going to look at an article now about Grayscale. So could that happen? Politically, could something happen? Could there be a conflict somewhere? Could there be a recession somewhere? What stops us from coming down? Because at this current rate of trajectory, which we're going through, and like I said, we've had this kind of thing. Now, we can't go here. We can't go here. So do we come up and do this before the halving? And that would take us towards the end of next year. Could we do that? We need to have some kind of retest of support. We need to have some kind of base for when we come back down, because this, for me, we've gone too soon. It's like we're in a marathon, but we've started sprinting in the first 2 miles of the race, and we've still got 25 miles to go, but we're now really tired and we're getting exhausted. Remember what I was saying about prices going up? They should be seen to be like steps. Now, after a certain number of steps of walking upstairs, you're going to get tired, you're going to need a rest, you're going to need to, the RSI is going to need to cool down, and you need to rest. Where do you rest? You tend to rest at previous levels of support and resistance. So we've found resistance at this RSI level. The reason this line is in here is because this correlates to a previous level of resistance here. Sorry, this one here. So I'm not making these numbers up. I'm not just randomly putting a line on the chart. I'm looking back towards the history of Bitcoin, because that's what traders will do. They will look at where was the previous price action, where are we going to go? We've hit a fib level and we've found resistance. Are we going to break that now? If we break that, if we get to 48,300, what happens if we do get to $50,000 in the next 3 weeks? Where do we go from there? Are we going to go into the next halving at $70,000? Because if we are, we're looking at a 300,000 or 400,000 Bitcoin. And I'm not going to say that because that sounds ridiculous. So we're going to go and have a look at this Grayscale article, because this, if you've been watching since May or June, I've been saying that basically what happened was, back then, no matter what good news came out, it didn't move the price. The price wasn't moving. And, you know, we had lots of good news, not obviously as big as the good news is that we've got now about the Bitcoin ETF, but still big news. The price wasn't moving. The price didn't move. It wasn't even popping out. Now, if I just try and make this a bit bigger, you might be able to see it on the screen. So, and this is what I mean about, in the past, the good news wasn't bringing us up. And now the bad news isn't bringing us down. And is that because institutional investors are coming in? There is a Bitcoin whale who is buying, is it $4 million of Bitcoin a week or something like that? So the SEC has delayed the decision on Grayscale's proposed spot Ether ETF into the new year. Now, I know this isn't Bitcoin, but the point of the matter is that we've seen nothing but continual delays. Now, this ETF has been delayed until January the 25th. Why is this important? Because Grayscale have the Bitcoin Trust, then they have the Ethereum Trust, then they have like a DeFi altcoin trust that's got some of the top 10 coins in there, and they're all being delayed. This has been pushed back to January the 25th. Why is that important? Because January the 11th is the deadline for the Bitcoin ETF. So, is this delay to 2 weeks after the Bitcoin deadline? Is this because this is going to be approved 2 weeks after the Bitcoin ETF? Because that is incredibly bullish news. Or has it been delayed because it's going to be delayed till April? And are the SEC going to find some way of delaying the Bitcoin ETF? That's what we need to work out. It's very difficult to second guess the SEC. We know what they're trying to do, and they're just very misplaced in how they view crypto in general, because they are pressured by senators, sponsors who happen to be the banks, the financial institutions. So there's kind of a skewed way of looking at crypto. But from our point of view, is this a bullish or bearish bit of news? I think it can be seen as both. Now, if it can be seen as bearish news, it hasn't affected the price of Ethereum. If it's bullish news, it hasn't affected the price of Bitcoin. So where do we sit with this article? I don't think this is good news. I think there is something behind the scenes at the SEC where either one or two things is going to happen. We're going to get front run and they're going to approve it this week or next week, and that would explain the price rises, or it's going to be delayed and everybody who is now FOMOing into crypto is going to buy their Bitcoin from BlackRock and Vanguard, who will then sell at 48,000, and when the price crashes back towards 39, 41,000, they buy back in. That would not surprise me. So you look at the price of Ethereum, it's only gone up 0.2%. And this news, as I said, could it be seen as bullish? Could it be seen as bearish? I don't know. So this goes on and talks about the delays. Grayscale, for those of you that don't know, it's been around forever. It has hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. It's also got 2.5% of all the Ethereum in circulation. 2.5% of all Ethereum sits within the Grayscale vaults. They are a big player. That would give them, what does that work out at? 2.5% of 120 million is about 3 or 4 million Ethereum, which is nice. So we don't know precisely what's going to happen, but we do know that the SEC are going to try and kick us down the path as far as they can. Now, what I am going to do... Oh, good morning, Proxy. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, Hikran. I apologise for the last 2 days of streams that have gone down. We now seem to be back and seem to be fairly stable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the red envelope for you now. As I said, I try and do it about 20 past. It gives people long enough times to come in. So if I press that, and then I will drop a red box. There we go. Okay, so the red envelope has been dropped, and now I'm going to drop another one in here. Now remember, wherever you are, there are 2 really important ways you can help us out. The first one is to smash the like button. Smash the love heart, smash the like, whatever you want to call it. And the other way is to follow us. Follow us by pressing whichever button it is to follow us. And that way we can help build our metrics. And when we get advertisers coming along or whoever coming along, we can then show them that we have, a reasonable following. So I'm just going to drop this one now. There we go. Okay. And I'm sure during the bull run, when we are all swimming in gold, we will be dropping way bigger boxes than we're dropping now. There we go. Okay, so everybody should now have some kind of crypto to claim. And if you are not watching on one of our exchanges, go down below in the details of this stream and you will find all the links that you need to come and join us and get this free crypto. We give it out nearly every day. We didn't give it out yesterday and the day before because the stream kept going down. But in general, we give out crypto every morning at 11 o'clock, including Saturdays. The only morning we don't is, of course, Sunday, because I try and have a lie-in, and it never really works. So now we're going to have a little look at Doge. And for those of you wondering, why has Doge been pumping so much in the last few days? Well, believe it or not, it's Doge's birthday. And wouldn't you know it, Doge has gone up 10% on its 10th anniversary. You couldn't write that price target, could you? Well, you could if you'd been listening to our channel, because I told you what the price was going to go to weeks ago. But neither here nor there. So Dogecoin has surged 10% in a day, as popular meme coin celebrates its 10th anniversary. Let's make this a little bit bigger. There we go. It's gained 10% over the past day as it celebrates its birthday. It's a decade since inception. At the time of writing, it's 9.9 cents. What's good about Doge? Well, I'm not a fan of Doge, but it is the second largest proof of work blockchain. It is a copy of Litecoin and Bitcoin, so it has the OG code. It's backed by some big people. Its biggest fan is, of course, Elon Musk. Now, what's important about Elon Musk is that he has just been given a money market license in the majority of places in America that he wants to launch this as a tipping app. And before he can come out and say, we're now going to allow X to have a built-in wallet, because remember, he wants to copy, is it called WeChat in China, which is an everything app. He wants to turn Twitter into X, which is a copy of WeChat. That's what he wants to do. But to do that, he needs these money licenses, electronic money licenses, and he needs one for every state. He needs one for Europe, he needs one for the UK, he needs one for parts of Asia. So he has to do a lot of background work to get this up and running. It's not an easy case of him going, okay, now we're going to launch with Dogecoin as a tip. We've kind of covered all of that before, but he has now got the majority of licenses that he needs. And Dogecoin, as I've said before on this channel, is going to rip. I don't hold it. I'm not a fan. I much prefer SHIB and the community to do with SHIB and what SHIB does. I much prefer that to Doge. Doge for me is just a dumb waiter. It just goes up and it goes down, goes up, it goes down, it never changes, never does anything, doesn't develop. Yes, it's got its own app, it's got its own wallet, but it doesn't do anything. I don't see a Dogecoin community on X. I see a SHIB community, I see a Dino community, I see a Bonk community, I see a Punk community. I don't see a Doge community. I don't know where they hide. I don't know whether they're embarrassed and whether it's some kind of secret where they keep their Dogecoin under their bed. I don't know. So we don't need to go into how Dogecoin was created. I'm just going to bring up the charts because I had some price targets for Doge that I wanted to go over again with you, because most of the charts that we look at on a daily basis, most of these charts don't change. I don't change any of the lines. So as you can see, Doge from November last year was putting in lower lows all the way down here. It was putting in lower highs all the way down here. It did that for an entire year. Now, the next question then is, what caused this pump? This pump was nothing to do with Doge. This pump was all to do with the impending Bitcoin ETF news. And the markets, Solana, Doge, and a few others went up the start to middle to end of October. Bitcoin, of course, went up on the 23rd or the 27th of October. Hasn't looked back since. So Doge was in this upward channel, and obviously, as you can see there, if I just make this a bit bigger, there we go. We can see where we've gone to. Now, psychologically, there's always been a few levels for Doge to get past. One, of course, was 10 cents. It never got past 10 cents. It's not there, okay? It's hit 10 cents, but I don't know if it's going to go any higher. Have I got my price targets on here for Doge? Now, what's important, and remember I was saying before about look at previous, there we go. Look at previous price action. So if I put a line there, you'll see we came up and hit the psychological level here and here and here for Doge. Why is this important? Because I always try and highlight these areas of resistance. Ethereum was an absolute bugger for $2,050. Could never break $2,050, and it was just bouncing off it and bouncing off it. It didn't matter what news came out, Ethereum couldn't break that. And when it did break it, it held it for a few days and then came straight back down. Now, obviously, it's at 2250. It's surpassed that. We can look at that again on the charts. But it's important to learn from the past. The past does not tell you what the future holds. The past tells you how the future can behave. And in this instance, this news is not massively bullish news. It's 10 years old. Great. It's not massively bullish news. So what did it do? It went up to its first real point of resistance at 10 cents and it's stuck. Now, if Bitcoin goes on a tear in the next 2 weeks and hits $50,000, Dogecoin is going to go up, irrespective of what I say now, because the altcoins will follow Bitcoin. They're like little tiny puppies on extremely long leads behind the bulldog that is Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin wants to walk in a direction, eventually all of those leads will tighten and all of the small puppies will follow it. That's how Bitcoin is going to work. That's how Bitcoin pulls the ball forward. Now, when Bitcoin stops for a drink, what happens? All of the little puppies will catch up with Bitcoin, and then you will have the altcoins pumping. So Bitcoin has a breather. Let's say Bitcoin stops at $44,000 for the next 2 weeks. We're going to see the majority of altcoins pump, because that liquidity that was going into Bitcoin to push it up and up and up, some people will take profits, and they won't take profits into USDC. They will take profits into Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, Solana, and unfortunately, probably Dogecoin. So that's how the market kind of works. So whatever I say about the fundamentals is completely irrelevant, because if Bitcoin pumps or Bitcoin dumps, this coin will follow it. However, there are, of course, significant prices you can look at. And the first major one for me is 15 cents, which is there, because that's where we had the huge run up and we hit that level and it came straight back down. That's the only price target I'm going to give for Doge. And we are not, in my humble opinion, we will not hit that price until Bitcoin has rallied massively and has a rest. And then maybe these coins will pick up. Or X announces the app is coming in June next year and Dogecoin will be the tipping feature. Then we are going to see this kind of action. We're going to see this. And then maybe this for a while until it actually happens. We're going to see a massive, massive wick up. And that will take it outside of any price action you can draw. Because there is specific price action to coins that take it outside of the market reactions. Now that could be, think of an example. That could be the partnership between the World Economic Forum and Algorand. That's such a big deal. You know, Algorand and the Indian Blockchain Association as well. Those are huge deals which will move the price action independent of Bitcoin, independent of crypto. Dogecoin as a tipping feature will move Doge independent of Bitcoin, independent of crypto. Just bear that in mind. There will be white swan for individual cryptos that will affect that particular price. Now, if Elon Musk comes out and says we're going to have a tipping app that's going to allow multiple coins to be tipped, then what I would expect is something like this to take us back into this channel down here, because that then means that Dogecoin isn't a special little snowflake, and it is in fact just a meme coin that doesn't have any utility. And at that point, I think SHIB will become the number one meme coin, even though I don't consider it a meme coin anymore, community coin. It will become the number one community coin in the world within 6 months of Elon Musk announcing an app that doesn't solely rely on Doge. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it is going to be the tipping function of X. But if it isn't, and there's a 5%, 4%, 2% chance it isn't, then I think Doge is going to go, it's going to be crushed, because it doesn't have anything else. It is a one-trick pony, unlike SHIB, which I promote all the time on here. And just for the record, I don't hold SHIB. The only SHIB I hold is to give out as crypto on the stream. I don't hold any myself. I don't hold any meme coins. I've got one Doge and I've got about $10 worth of SHIB. But the point of the matter is, if you put SHIB and Doge in a boxing ring, SHIB would win within the first 2 rounds, because it just has everything going for it. They have built a community. What has Doge built? Name me one thing Doge has done. I can't. It's going to the moon. Whoopee. I can't name anything. So For me, Doge is something you play for the price action. It's not something I would buy into and expect to be a massive success in 5 years' time, unless it's a tipping feature. Now, you might have noticed, or you might not have noticed, that crypto stocks of mining companies have absolutely skyrocketed. And when I mean skyrocketed, I mean some of them have gone up 200, 300%. And the reason is because these guys mine Bitcoin. Now, if they're mining 1,100 Bitcoin at $44,000, and those 1,187 Bitcoin aren't sold today or tomorrow, and they're held for another 3 years, they won't be worth $44,000 each. They might be worth $200,000 each. So it makes them grossly undervalued. Now, why is that important? Because I'm going to give you another example, because we don't just talk about crypto on here. We try and look at macro environment and comparisons. Now, I don't know if you've ever looked at mining stock. Mining stock is huge big business. There are 4 or 5 major players around the world. And what's important about mining stock is that you are not buying the stock based on today's price of gold. You're buying it based on the price of gold in 3-4 years' time, because they've already sold the gold that they have mined for the next 2 years. They've sold this year's, next year's, and probably the year after's gold that they mine out. And they get paid for that. So what happens is when the price comes down or the price goes up, they exponentially go up and down with the price. So if gold changes by 1%, they might change their stock value might change by 10%. And it's called either the alpha or the beta, I can't remember which one it is. But it's basing the value of that company at a future price. Now, mining stock, Bitcoin mining stock, should be seen in the same way. Although they are mining Bitcoin today, they are not selling it. Miners don't sell that much Bitcoin. As of April or May, guess what? They're only going to generate half the amount of Bitcoin that they are generating today. So Marathon Digital will only mine 593.5 Bitcoin in June next year if they mine the same amount that they have done in November. So their rewards get halved. Now, what does that mean? It means it makes it twice as expensive to get that Bitcoin out of the system, out of those rewards. Their costs don't halve. Their costs, if anything, go up depending on what state they're in, the cost of electricity, whatever it might be. So logically, they are sending half the amount. If they were having to sell, they are selling half the amount of Bitcoin that they're selling today. So you are removing 50% of the miner sell pressure from May next year. That's billions and billions of dollars of sell pressure gone at the drop of a hat. And it takes a good 6 months for that sell pressure to wear off, because obviously these guys have been stacking their Bitcoin. They haven't been selling everything they've been mined. But by November next year, the chances are that we will start to feel the effects of that sell pressure wear off. And that's where we're going to see, I think we're going to see a dip after the halving. And I think it's going to take us till October, November next year before we recover. And that's when we're going to have a 12-month blow off top, independent of the ETF. The ETF could make everything I'm saying completely obsolete. So I think that's where we're going to be going. But they've still mined 1,187 Bitcoin. That combined is worth $802 million. And remember, the way the hash rate works, the difficulty works, the more people that mine, the harder it is for the hash rate to mine. But let's say we get to the point where it's too expensive to mine and those miners stop mining. The actual hash rate falls and therefore the difficulty falls, which makes it more profitable for these guys to solve the blocks. So there's like perfect balance between supply of computing power and then demand. There's a perfect balance there, which has been the case for the last, 13 years now. So the way to look at this is that miners are a vital part of the Bitcoin economy. If we don't have any miners, the network isn't secure, and that's where we have a problem. We need miners to be compensated well enough to keep enough computers running to keep the network secure. And that's why when the halving happens, we see such a run up in price, because the demand doesn't change or goes up, but the supply halves. And the miners, there is an adjustment, of course, in the difficulty. Some miners are going to fall by the wayside for a time until the price of Bitcoin goes up. So imagine this. Today we're at $44,000. This time next year, we would need to be at $88,000 for the miners to make the same amount of money they're making today. Now we're going to get there. It's like me predicting the sun's going to come up tomorrow, or the sun's going to go down this afternoon. I'm going to be right, but it doesn't make me a guru. And it doesn't make me a guru telling you that a Bitcoin has to be at $88,000 for the miners to make the same amount of money they're making today, when there's a halving event in May. So just bear that in mind. Whatever the price is today, it has to be double that in 12 months' time for the miners to make the same amount of money. So investors look at this and they say, okay, if we buy this stock now, Marathon holds 14,000 Bitcoin. That's going to be worth double the amount it is today. So that's why you're seeing the future price of Bitcoin, the same way I was saying before, the future price of gold affecting the current price of the miner today. And it doesn't happen in every industry. It doesn't happen in too many other industries, but it's mainly in commodities: oil, gas, coal, gold, silver, whatever it is. There is a lag between them starting to mine and them getting it out of the ground. There is a lag. And that's where you have the future prices of those commodities taken into account when you look at the existing price today of that company. So Marathon, one of the big ones, but they've been on a huge tear. All of these mining companies have shot up. They have been undervalued. But we're now at a point where people are starting to see the value in mining companies. And I'll ask you to do one thing. Go and have a look who the major shareholders are in the mining companies, and you're going to find the same names you see applying for the Bitcoin ETFs. You're going to see BlackRock, you're going to see Vanguard, you're going to see probably ARK Invest in a few of them. Do as they do, not as they say, is a motto that's been doing the rounds for years. And this is another example of what I've been saying. IBM has just unveiled new crypto cold storage technology. Now, IBM used to be one of the world's biggest computer companies. It's now owned by China. That's irrelevant to this part of the conversation, but they didn't change with the times, and they kind of made themselves obsolete. The same with Kodak, the same with any company that doesn't evolve. So what IBM have done is they've now moved into crypto. But they didn't create this cold storage technology overnight. They've been working on it probably for the last 2, 3, 4 years. The same way that BlackRock has been working on its ETF offerings for the last 3 or 4 years. So while Jamie is on CNBC calling Bitcoin a scam coin, what he was actually doing was getting an entire team put together to work on its crypto arm. And then suddenly he comes out and goes, you know what, Bitcoin is the scarcest resource on Earth. It's going to be the most valuable resource on Earth. But 4 years ago, he was telling you it was a scam. But 4 years ago, he was getting people ready to prepare his company for the future, which is crypto. IBM never did that with computing. They never changed. They had mainframes, they had office computers, they completely ignored retail, and retail is where the money was, and Dell came along and lots of others came along, and IBM fell by the wayside. Now, this could be another shot at trying to get back to where they were. Now, it has a very, I personally, I would fire the marketing department. Good morning, Web3. Welcome back to the stream. So it is called a Hyper Protect Offline Signing Orchestrator, or OSO. Personally, they need to be, all of them need to be fired for coming up with that name, because that isn't even a name. I don't even know what you would call it. So I mean, it's a stupid name for it. I mean, you look at its competition. Ledger, you understand what a ledger is. Trezor, you know who the company are. Hyper Protect Offline Signing Orchestrator doesn't even connect it to IBM. They should have just called it an IBM wallet and be done with it. So the OSO technology results from IBM's collaboration with Metaco, a leading digital asset custody provider. Now, I believe that there is also a collab with Ripple involved with this. And Ripple, of course, are going to be pulling up trees in the next bull run, as we've said. Probably $3 to $5, if not more, depending on where the market goes in the next few months, maybe even $8 or $9. I'm going to start giving up on predictions because I think most of my predictions are going to be wrong. The technology bridges two critical components of Metaco's Harmonize, functioning within separate... I'm not even going to read this out. Basically, IBM have created a cold storage wallet, and that is the end of it. We've actually not got a lot of time left, but luckily we only have one article. So we're going to have a little look at this. Now, this is a bit worrying for me, because I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's one of those, really? How big do they want that advert to be? So Bitcoin ordinals could be stopped if blockchain bug is patched, claims dev. Now, first of all, I don't think they're going to kill the ordinals at all. But bear in mind, Udi Weirhammer, or whatever it's called, him and his chaps turned up to the last Bitcoin conference dressed as wizards. They like to have a bit of fun. But what they also did was they highlighted something absolutely fundamentally wrong with Bitcoin. And that is processing transactions. They flooded the Bitcoin network with transactions which ground it to a halt. Now, if two blokes who dress up as wizards can bring the entire Bitcoin network down, what could a concerted effort by another body be? I don't know, let's pick one. US government wants to bring down Bitcoin. You can't bring down the system because it's decentralized. What you could do is you could flood the system with hundreds of millions of transactions, block the ledger, stop transactions being processed, and basically kill the system. So you can thank Udi and his wizard hat wearing friends for allowing Bitcoin to see this massive vulnerability and fix it. But what they also did was they created the ordinals, which are the NFTs that sit on the Bitcoin network. And this developer is planning to fix it. Now, I don't think they should fix it and get rid of them and kill them off, because that's going to just make them more expensive. Because if you stop NFTs from being produced, and there's only a finite number of NFTs, ironically speaking, that's what Bitcoin is. It's the most finite resource in the universe. Well, maybe not in the universe, but on planet Earth. What if you did the same thing to the NFTs? Then the Bitcoin ordinals would be the scarcest NFT on the planet, and everybody would want one. And the price is likely to go up 100x once this fix is put into place. Or do they adapt the Bitcoin network to allow for NFTs to be added, but stop the data size problem? That's another possibility for them. So in a December the 6th post, developer Luke Dashry said inscriptions used by ordinals and BRC20 creators to embed data on Satoshis exploit a Bitcoin core vulnerability to spam the blockchain. This is what they've highlighted. This needs to be fixed. He explained that the Bitcoin core code has allowed users to set limits on the size of extra data in transactions since 2013. Yeah, we don't like that idea. The bug allowing inscriptions to bypass this limit was recently fixed in the latest update. Another X asked if ordinals and BRC tokens would stop being a thing if the vulnerability was fixed, to which he replied, correct. Existing inscriptions would still remain. That would cause, in my opinion, the price of them to exponentially go up. because if you have 5,000 NFTs on the Bitcoin network and that vulnerability is fixed, they will forever be the only 5,000 NFTs to ever exist on the Bitcoin network. Now, in the future, maybe there is a layer 2 that sits on top of Bitcoin that creates these NFTs. Fine. But these are the OGs. These are the Bored Ape Yacht Clubs. These are the crypto punks, or cyberpunks, whatever the hell they're called. On December the 6th, the decentralized mining protocol Ocean, where he is a CTO, said on X that Bitcoin NOT's upgrade fixes this long-standing vulnerability exploited by modern scammers. So there you go. Ordinals could shoot up in price. There you go. That's about the biggest bit of news. Now what I'm going to do is leave up the Bitcoin chart. Let me just bring this back up here as well so you can see where we are. We are not far off a $1 trillion market cap for Bitcoin, you know. We are not far off. What are we? Are 15% away from a $1 trillion market cap, which would put Bitcoin, funnily enough, at $50,000. So it all ties in quite nicely with what I've been saying. $48,000 to $50,000, $1 trillion market cap. Can't say fairer than that. Right, we're going to get on with the quiz. It's been so nice to do the stream today because we haven't crashed. And then you know what I think the key is, that Hidden Agendas has been here since the start, but Web3 Superstar hasn't been here. And I think his presence alone is what's caused the problems. I'm not blaming him, I'm just saying it could be a fact. So what we're going to do now is we are going to turn off one of our streams. I'm going to put the stream on pause for 5 or 10 seconds while I do that. Web3, we're doing the quiz now, so we're going to say goodbye to you. We're going to say goodbye, and we will see you tomorrow, probably at the same time. But until then, I am going to pause the stream.